Hello and welcome to, and I am reading this off the docket, Randomer Nintendo episode 754. That has to be a typo.
Not what it says on my docket. Mine says
That's what it
75.
said on mine.
It says 754 on mine.
Oh, mine says 754 now. It said 75 before. It's the ghost of
I-
the
there-
old
there's
topic
also
again. There, it's fixed.
There's also a tiny little like Jason icon next to the number. So
I
clearly,
changed it
like,
to 75 from 74.
is that
Remember
evidence
last episode?
that you
the
were
Switch,
saboteur last time?
Remember last episode with the Switch 2 thing and it mysteriously came back? I feel like Notes is an unreliable narrator sometimes. It is episode 75.
Well,
but one day we'll reach 754, guys. One day. If you
well,
believe.
Speaking of unreliable narrators, I am Angel, host today.
That's good.
To my
That's good.
right is mostly reliable Jason.
It's debatable.
Yeah, I feel like if you ask me on a whim, I'd say like, oh yeah, very reliable. But then the more I think about it,
But don't
I
think.
feel like-
Just don't think. Just don't think.
yeah, you're like AI that daydreams sometimes. It's like you're just very confident.
You mean
Your
hallucinates?
Incorrect answer. Oh, that would hallucinates.
See,
yeah,
even in
that's
that moment, I did that. I very confidently said the correction. It could have been wrong, but I said it with confidence. It was right, but I said it with confidence.
And to my other side, Kevin, the very reliable narrator.
Also very debatable, I would say.
I do like how we argued the opposite
Exactly.
side of that. Like, he's like, you're reliable. And you're like, no, I'm not. And he's like, Jason, you're not so reliable. I'm like, yes, I am. Like, maybe that speaks to
That's
our
what makes-
respective egos.
Exactly. That's what makes Kevin reliable. He knows.
Yeah, I guess. so.
Yeah,
can trust
recognize game's got to recognize game, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I could trust it. So I took a glance at what we're talking about today, and it's a pretty nice mix. But I think before we get into any of that, I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like it's been about a month, if not like 3 weeks, since we last recorded. Did we skip a week? In
No.
between
Well,
this and the last one?
so last episode we discussed how so we this is getting to the nitty-gritty. So 2 weeks ago we did an episode, but that was 1 week after the episode you guys would record when I was ill. So we had back-to-back episodes a week apart. And in that episode that we recorded 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, maybe we're wedging this episode in, and you guys will get another new episode in a week. And both of you are like, no. And I was like, oh. And now it's the regular 2 weeks, and we just shifted the schedule.
And since we're already getting to the nitty gritty, just, we'll do this housekeeping early, but this is more for my sanity because I kind of have my whiteboard calendar in front of me. We're next recording the podcast on a Wednesday because I believe
Kevin
you're
has not
busy
been
a
briefed on
Tuesday,
any
and-
of this. So I don't know if it's even true. You and I said it, but I don't know if Kevin's on board with that.
Well, because
I have not been briefed on this.
So
Well, long story short, I plan. This is podcast relevant, but I do plan on watching Rental Family, the George of the Jungle feature.
it's based on the Conan
the Monday we
O'Brien
normally record.
Japan's travel show skit where he rents a family. I mean, it's not really. It's a thing in Japan, but there's a whole movie with Brendan Fraser that's themed around the same idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so watching that on Monday.
The Monday we
You know,
would be
just like-
recording, just for folks' clarity. So then
Yeah.
Angel's
So
like,
then-
let's move it to...
Theaters?
What?
Is that in theaters?
It will be. It's
It'll-
not out yet.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah.
in a
So
couple
then
weeks.
Angel's like, let's record on
Yeah.
Tuesday. And he, for some reason, only told me this. And I'm like, sure. And then about an hour later, one of our friends is like, let's go to a basketball game on Tuesday. And I'm like, sure. And Angel's like, but you just said we'd record on Tuesday. I'm like, well, move it again. And Kevin, you were not part of any of these conversations somehow, I don't think.
he was a part of the second one.
Maybe
because
he was.
he's
Yeah, he
technically
was in the group chat.
in
That's true. That's
with
true.
the basketball one. And there, by context, there would be like, wait a minute, we're not recording on Monday. Why are we moving it from Tuesday to, I guess, Wednesday?
But
So,
we never,
in a way,
just to clarify, no one
you're
ever
kind
said,
of-
hold on, no one said Wednesday. Angel, you're now just jumping to Wednesday. So we
uh,
just said
I
we'll
guess
move
are we
it.
even recording that week at this point?
Wednesday is the day before Thanksgiving of that week, if I'm not mistaken. I might be
Oh,
mistaken. I could
It
very well
is.
be mistaken.
Nope, you're right. Which means it would go up on Thursday if we do record on Wednesday.
And what
unless
better
we
way to
can't
give
record on
thanks than to
Wednesday.
listen to us ramble about stuff while you wait for your turkey to be cooked, right? So it's
So give
possible
us an
we'll do
answer
it.
now. Give us an answer later. We can figure it out some other time.
The point
Kevin,
is,
don't you
if you're
worry.
tuning into us for the very first time ever and you have no idea the quality of our show, at least you know when you can next tune in. or not tune in, depending on how much you like what you're about here over the next little while. So,
I mean, I don't even know what we're gonna talk about next. That's how. Wait, was there? Oh, like I was like, why is the word loosey goosey just like really like at the tip of my tongue right now? And that's because you have honkers over here. The gif of
Wait, one more time?
the Untitled Goose Game Goose that Jason used as a react.
yeah, I used the reaction of the Untitled Goose Game Goose, and for some reason, Angel decided
because-
that the goose's name is Honkers, I guess.
Yeah, which came to me front of mind because there's a Key and Peele skit where the goose that lays the golden eggs, they call them honkers in that skit. So, all right, I think that's a nice way to wrap up.
Yep, that was a good episode.
Did we
Good
do
talking to you
pleasantries?
guys. We'll
I
see you
don't
in
think we
2
did.
weeks on a Monday,
All right,
Tuesday, or
Jason.
Wednesday.
All right, go do the house cleaning.
Okay, yeah, so you can
housekeeping.
follow us on all your favorite podcasting apps. No, yeah, it would be the. What were you actually gonna say?
All
Sorry.
right, so all right, fine. Well, all right. So how you been this week? How has the last 3-4 long period of time been?
Kevin, do you want to go first? I feel like Angel and I were banging around weird dates and stuff. In the
No,
last few
don't feel
minutes.
bad. Don't feel bad for me. You can go.
I mean, I've been good. I've been living a very Nintendo adjacent life the last. Like I've been doing a lot of things that are Nintendo related, but they're not necessarily games, which has been kind of fun. Like I built the new Lego set, the Game Boy Lego set, which was fun. Do you guys know about the app you can use actually to build Legos now? It's probably been around a few years, but it's called like Lego Build or Lego Builders. But it's the booklet you get with the build.
Yeah, I've been using it for years.
Yeah, I only started using it now, and it's so nice. Like you could spin it around with 3D models and see it from every angle. And it's really nice.
Did you by chance build it with your wife, or did you build it by yourself?
We
Was it a
did
solo
what they
job,
say
or
for
was this a co-op?
We did what they call for toddlers parallel play. So as I was building the Lego Game Boy, Rachel was building this thing called what's it called? A book nook? No, not a book nook. A book nook? I think it's called a book nook. Basically, it's like a heavy cardstock, very intricate model that slots in a bookshelf in between books. It's like kind of the width of a thick book. So she built one for a Beauty and the Beast themed book nook. Yeah, it is book nook. And it has like lights and like Beauty and the Beast spin on it, but it's unlicensed. So it's actually Beast and the Beauty on the box. But so she was doing
Those are
that.
neat.
It took glue. It took wiring. It was way more complicated than my 400 some odd piece Lego Game Boy that I needed a 3D model to properly build. But yeah, so we were kind of doing parallel activities. And so,
Yeah,
yes,
those
I
are
built
really
the Game
cool.
Boy by myself for once.
I've seen some that I've been tempted to get that I'm not, because I just don't have room on a bookshelf for them. But
Oh, the book
I've seen
nooks?
some that are like just, yeah, book notes. I've seen like many different variations of like, Japanese, like not alleyway, but just like a street, like Golden Guy kind of thing. It just looks really neat.
They're
Like,
really cool. They're really
and some of them
intricate.
sell really good illusions when they have like mirrors and like it curves to the side. So
Yeah,
it looks like,
like
a
the one she built
really
has
long street.
the one she built has like a chandelier in it that actually like reflects the light from the back. It's pretty crazy. It's and there's like a flickering lamp and like it's really elaborate. And you just like flip a switch and it apparently plays music too. Although we haven't done that part yet, or she hasn't done that part yet. But it did take. I mean, she was working on it for like a good couple days when she was like off from work, like not full days, but like good number of hours a day. It took like getting like crazy glue and like all this stuff, but the final product is very impressive. And it's not to sell short my Lego Game Boy, which also is very cool. But like hers was definitely more impressive. Like the Lego Game Boy is cool. But it's interesting because instead of like, I don't know how many of the Lego Nintendo products you guys have ever built, but like the Lego Nintendo and like the NES and stuff like that, they had a lot of like Easter eggs as you're building it. Like you're building the console, but behind the bricks that you see when it's done are like hidden little like replicas of the level layout of Mario 1-1 or whatever. The Game Boy did not really have quite that intricate of little Easter eggs. But what's cool about it is it has 2 cartridges and the Game Boy unit itself, and you get lenticular screens, so you can actually physically pop in and out the different cartridges, and then put a matching lenticular screen, and then as you kind of wiggle the Game Boy around, it looks like the game's actually playing. And they also did some cool stuff with like the buttons feel like real buttons. The D-pad has a different feel of squishiness or lack of squishiness compared to the buttons. Like they all feel like how they should. When you build the cartridges, like they kind of color-coded the cartridge internals to match what the game would be. So like Zelda was like gold and green and that sort of thing for Link's Awakening. And because Link's Awakening had a battery in it for the save files and Super Mario Land did not, the Super Mario Land cartridge doesn't have the battery in Lego form, but the Link's Awakening one does. So they did a really good job of like replicating the unique things about the Game Boy and how it all feels and how it all looks, but it didn't necessarily have the same like Easter eggs of the old Nintendo set. So
Well,
I thought
fun
that was
fact,
kind of interesting.
Fun fact, all the chips were green and gold. So it is kind of cool that they did just make them look straight up like, internal.
Oh yeah, but I should clarify.
RAM
It's like
or whatever it was.
Zelda green, like it's like a deep forest green, and like a gold and like an orange or gold for like the Zelda one, and then the Mario one was a bright green. Yeah, that looked more like a regular chip, but they did like sort of distinguish them as being this is the Zelda cartridge and that's the Mario cartridge. But yes, all the chips are green and gold. Yeah, which the inside of Mario has, and the inside of the Game Boy somewhat has as well. There's some green accents in there around where the chips would be. So again, they did a really good job of replicating. They just sort of swapped out the idea of Easter eggs for just authentic Lego recreations inside and out. Which take it or leave it if you prefer one or the other, but made for a very fun build as I was doing it and being like, oh whoa! Like I literally exclaimed. Rachel's probably like, what? I'm like, the save chip battery. And she's like, wait, what? I'm like, look at this round part. That wasn't on the other cartridge because this cartridge had a save file. And she's like, okay, I'm going back to my book nook. So
That's nice, dear.
that's wonderful. Continue. But yeah, so that was fun to do.
Yeah, something I do want to add.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have talked about the Lego Builder app before, specifically because of this feature. But in case I didn't, I'll bring it up now. Lego, for some of their sets, depending on how big they are, will have multiple books, and that was like kind of the analog way of like, oh look, you can build it together because each person can handle their own separate book.
Oh yeah.
But thanks to the magic of the Lego Builder app, if multiple people have the app, you can literally link them up. And they go out of their way to literally create basically new steps that make it so that you're each building completely different parts simultaneously, and then you're constantly passing stuff to each other back and forth. And this is really cool. And depending on what set it is, sometimes you could go up to 4 or 5 people. And I really want to see what that looks like. I doubt I'll ever get that set up, but the fact that it makes the co-op building like I feel like actual co-op because you're building sometimes the same unit, but as I'm working on the body, they're working on some other things, the chassis or whatever, if it's like a car. And then, then we'll pass one thing to the other, and it's just really fun.
There is
more effort than I expected them to ever bother doing.
There's a very playful Nintendo-like vibe to that app. When you complete certain parts, it does like a little burst of Lego bricks, like of confetti, like the co-op thing. There's something, just the overall vibe of the app has a very playful, thought-out nature that kind of feels kind of Nintendo-y or maybe a little Apple-ish. And yeah, it's I could see why Nintendo and Lego get along so well because it really does kind of, to your point, they go the extra mile to make it like a full experience.
Nintendo is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you, Gomez? How's it going?
I haven't really done much in the last 2 weeks, although I am feeling a little bit under the weather. Yesterday I went to the holiday party for my old company that I used to work for. It was really fun. It was in Culver City, so I wasn't too far from
Yeah, kind of near me.
Yeah, by Jason. But no, had a really good time. Saw obviously a lot of old coworkers, a lot of people that I miss very, very dearly. I was out pretty late. I was maybe from like 7:30 to like maybe 1:30. The party only lasted until went from like 7 to 11, and then after there's an Irish pub nearby that pretty much everybody else went to afterwards, and yeah, just had a really good time.
Nice.
Aside from that, I did see Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc, once more. This time in 3D.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when you told me that was like the last day, and I was like, oh man, I hope you get to watch it. then it didn't seem like it was gonna happen, and then suddenly it was just like, oh yeah, I'm going like at 10 p.m. and I'm like, oh damn, maybe
Yeah,
later.
it was the last um it was the last, what's it called, subbed. No, it wasn't even subbed. It was dubbed.
Oh, it was dope. That's different.
The last sub was available, but like super late, and I think later on during the week. But yeah, we were able to manage to go see it at AMC Norwalk. I enjoyed the dub. It's it's nothing. It's not. How do I put this? It's an alright dub. There's nothing egregious about it as people would have you think. Dubs just in general have gotten pretty good recently. Like they've gotten they're not as I guess cartoony as they used to be, where they were really trying to almost emulate. They were clearly trying to emulate the way that a Japanese voice actor would say a certain line, and I mean that usually got to the point where it's like, okay, you're definitely overdoing it, when in Japanese things like that just come a little bit more naturally. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I feel like we did a service to Chainsaw Man, honestly, last episode. That movie soundtrack I've just been listening to for the last for the last 2 weeks. That movie soundtrack is like fantastic.
The movie soundtrack?
Yeah, the movie soundtrack.
Why are you saying that like it's such a foreign concept, Angel?
No, this is maybe me in general. It's not like a knock on the movie at all. This is more just like an Angel observation or realization that
an Angel angle.
I'm not really coming at it. I'm not coming at it from a certain perspective, but I guess it's my perspective. So I guess it is the Angel angle
or the Angel attitude.
No, I feel like you need a soft G sound for it to something, but I don't think there's a word for that.
Okay, Angel.
The point is, I remember, I don't know, I feel like I can't really say like, oh yeah, I remember the soundtrack outside of like, I kind of remember the opening song a little bit. I'm sure like if I heard a little section of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember the whole thing now. But everything else, after watching it twice, I honestly can't remember anything about it, just it matching what we were watching. But that's, I feel like, a lot of movies in general. I feel like it's kind of rare for me to actually point out the soundtrack for a movie more so than a game, oddly enough. Now that I think about it, it's just it's just more me going like, I don't know the soundtracks often. Like I'll be like, yeah, that sounded good, but Anyway,
and that was the Angel angle. There, you got a little outro.
Hearing it
I
by
guess that means when I really remember it, and then it's amazing. But yeah.
Well, it's very aside from like a couple of the tracks later on in the movie, once the action really starts to get going. A lot of it is more ambiance and almost minimalistic in its nature, and that's how the original soundtrack for Chainsaw Man Season 1 was as well, where it's more, like I said, it was a little bit more ambiance driven rather than like big orchestral themes, which is really funny because the composer of Chainsaw Man, his name is Kensuke Ushio, and he also does the soundtrack or the music for Dandadan, and that soundtrack is like much more expressive, a little bit more upbeat, and definitely like when I think of that soundtrack, I don't really think ambiance. I just think more cartoony, wacky adventures, as opposed to like some of these like haunting tracks that they have on the Chainsaw Man soundtrack. But yeah, I can't wait for that movie to come out in digital again.
What about the 3D? I know I definitely really enjoy it. Well, I think maybe just watching it again, I just forgot like how great the movie was. Like it didn't feel like it was dragging anywhere on the second viewing. It was just, yeah, I don't know, felt like I had nice pacing, but I don't know. I'm just a big sucker for 3D, so I just felt like everything just felt enhanced as a 3D movie, especially that fight at the end. And oh my god, those splash screens, like literal splash screens.
It was
Felt
it
like
was
that
really funny because we talked about it when we were texting, but
yeah.
the opening scene in black and white, that was definitely very eye popping.
Yeah, that was like a diorama. That thing was crazy.
Yeah, and then it continued on to when they wake up in the living room, and there's some depth there because they're under the table, and so I was like, okay, this is actually really cool. Obviously it's not old school 3D where you're like, whoa, like somebody pointing at the screen.
No
right?
chainsaws came at you, held by a man. Wasn't like
No,
that.
but like oddly enough, aside from maybe that splash screen that emulates the cover of the first volume of the manga, I honestly didn't really notice a lot of depth to the movie. And it was funny because every now and then I would hear your brother go, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Wait, what is supposed to be popping up?" I mean, specifically twice. There's a shot that happens at the beginning of the movie that then is mirrored right at the end with Reze walking down an alleyway. And I don't know if you remember that scene, Angel.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah,
but for for the scenes where that happens, I would just hear your brother go, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Really?" Because I'm not seeing anything here. It's just like a flat image to me. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I didn't see it. Like I'm glad that you guys did. But it's obviously that thing of like I owned a 3DS and never played with 3D on. So
yeah,
maybe
Jason, like we were the opposite. We cranked it up to max all the time.
Yeah, I usually kept it on max.
That just never did it for me. So
to be fair, at least
Still,
in
though,
my case,
honestly, and 3D or not, definitely, yeah. I'm just kind of surprised that Chainsaw Man ended up being a movie I saw twice in theaters. Didn't expect to enjoy it that much. The franchise, definitely looking forward to
Jason would
the next movie.
Would absolutely. I think Jason would like the movie, especially considering how slower paced and methodical it is at the beginning.
I'm down to check it out.
We'll
once
get
it's
to
on
watch
digital.
it when it's streaming.
Yeah.
When it's
sure.
streaming, we'll
do a round in town night.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll watch that on Perfect Blue and River the Fireflies. Done.
Long night.
You really want to watch Grave of the Fireflies?
I'll try to Trojan horse it in somewhere, but yeah, I guess since we're already kind of talking about movies, there's only 2 on here, so let's just talk about. Wait, none of us saw these alone, so I guess let's go with Predator Badlands.
Wait, okay. To clarify, none of us saw these alone. Wait, let's preface. None of us saw these alone. The 2 movies on there are 2 movies, Angel, that you and I specifically saw together. So yes, none of us saw them alone because both of them were the 2 of us together. So you're technically right.
Well,
but it's just funny how you were.
Yeah, I'm. Well, these are movies that none of us saw independent of the other 2.
Sure.
Like there wasn't like just a movie that used like.
This isn't gonna be like when I get to Kirby Air Riders later, and I'm gonna be the only one talking about it. Yeah, I recognize that. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I'm probably buying it when it comes out.
But did you play the global test run?
Well,
point proven.
What's the point?
I'm the only one talking about it. No, but let's talk about
the point of playing the test run if I already know I'm going to buy it? Like I'm probably not going to be playing online that much, so it makes even less sense.
I'm not in your head. I don't know. But yeah, you want to talk about the movies?
Well,
let's talk about the movies.
Yeah. So Predator Badlands was a fun movie. I love the if you're a fan of Predator, I don't think there are too many movies, at least like these like big live action ones that go really deep into the yaksha, I guess, like lore building, which is pretty cool. You just get like way more of it, and that was a really fun. I guess it's not really a twist, but that was just a fun. Oh, there we go. That was a fun angle.
An angel angle.
And like we said, like the world they built as well was also really, really cool.
Yeah.
very dangerous. It was kind of fun seeing the predator both play the role of the predator and the prey simultaneously, and almost like Monster Hunter. It was basically just Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
But
It pulled from
but
a
there
lot
were
of things.
a lot of things.
It was Monster Hunter, but
Yeah,
also like there's a little bit of a Pokemon in there, and a little bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog in there, and a little bit of a Grogu and Mandalorian vibe in
Yeah,
there.
there was a. It's not like oh, Predator has to be this kind of movie. Like I feel like the franchise is, at least like in my eyes, like I don't think I've seen enough of them, or feel like of what I've seen of Predator that it's like pigeonholed, beholden.
Yeah, sure.
It's
I don't know. Yeah,
it's not.
Pigeon held, I guess, or beholden, yeah, both of them.
pigeoned. No, not pigeoned.
It's not locked to a specific genre that it has to be. Like, they could play with it. But I think where I had some issues with this movie, and it's not like these necessarily make it a bad thing. I feel like after watching it and processing how I felt about it, that's when I was looking at some reviews, and it felt like, and actually they kind of just echoed what Jason said after we watched the movie. It seemed like a lot of people just like really loved that this movie felt more. It felt like, let's make Predator as marketable as possible and then make it like it's like a modern Star Wars movie. It felt like a modern Star Wars movie with Marvel and just a lot of that stuff. Like, so there were some moments that like, yeah, like when Jason mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog, there's like this character. I won't say too much about it.
Bud.
But yeah,
I love Bud. I'm a
This,
member of the Bud fan club. I won't elaborate, so I don't spoil anything
yeah,
for
like
anyone,
this-
but I love Bud.
yeah, this little Diddy Kong looking character.
Cross with Sonic, cross
Like-
with a Pokemon, cross with a Grogu, yeah.
Yeah, like, they're almost kind of like a, comedic relief. Almost kind of like how, this upper torso, like, android character that we see in the trailers is also kind of sort of comic relief. They're not really comic relief.
character for those who have seen any
Yeah.
promo for this.
Yeah, and for the most part, but there are like 3 to 4 moments in particular I could think of off the top of my head that took me out of the moment for a minute, just to be, because it felt like cool, they're making a joke, haha, funny, but then like they just kind of kept upping it to the point where it just kind of became ridiculous in my head, where I was like, okay, like all that was missing was them like staring at the camera and like smiling or doing something like that, or just like to give like one quick example, like one character high-fived their own body part later on because they were both proud of what they did. That probably isn't going to make any sense until you watch it later, but that was like, yeah, I don't know.
There's a camp to it.
Yeah, like overall I
campiness
liked
to
it, but yeah, it was way more campy than I would have liked it to be, but I wouldn't say it made me dislike the movie. I think it made it feel weird. It made it feel like I was watching like a Predator movie instead of a Star Wars movie. Like, the DNA just felt like the other movies, or these other franchises. I guess, yeah, it didn't really feel all that unique outside of like the world itself. Like, it felt, I guess that's kind of it. Like, it felt like I've seen a lot of the writing before, or this like kind of, I don't know, I guess like, I don't know, cinematic direction. I don't know. It's weird. It's a fun movie. Enjoyed it overall, but like it just felt weird.
It seems like between Prey, between Predator, between what Alien's doing with stuff like Alien Earth, it seems like there is a conscious effort to move. And to be fair, Alien did this with Prometheus as well, where it's a little more slow and brooding. It seems like there's a conscious effort to expand these franchises beyond just gory, like jump scare, horror-y sort of sci-fi. And it seems like with Predator Badlands, and let me rephrase that. It seems like there's this effort to move it beyond that one genre. It seems like in doing that, they're trying to almost do what Marvel does or Star Wars does, which is they're using other genres and other styles to expand the lore of the world. So, like, the story this told, I'm not saying what you're saying like is invalid because of this, but but like, I think the story they told here,
agree. And I don't need the Predator to be Michael Myers. Every of his movies.
Yeah, but I think like the story they were telling here, where you are learning a lot about like kind of almost family dynamics of like the predators themselves and everything, and like kind of the ins and outs of their thought process and whatnot. Like it kind of made sense that like the parallels to like you were saying Star Wars, specifically Mandalorian, and how over Mandalorian you have this kind of stoic dude who you start to learn more about like the Mandalorians and why and their lore and why they do and their beliefs and why they do what they do. And it feels like this took a page from that. Maybe a little too on point by even having like a little sidekick creature at one point, but it feels like it's a vehicle to be able to expand the lore and to also, without really spoiling anything because it's in the promotional material, also crisscross the lore with Alien in some interesting ways. I mean, obviously they've crisscrossed before, but like they did some interesting stuff in this one. So that to me kind of I didn't like justify why it felt a little like derivative of other movies, but it definitely felt, the more I was thinking about it, like in the same way certain Star Wars are like, oh, this one's like, you know, Mandalorian season 1 was an homage to like Westerns, like more so than Star Wars itself is, and that sort of thing. Like this felt like it was an homage to that type of movie, but set in Predator.
And I think I made this, and I'm pretty sure I did make this point to you guys. Like, you know, I could be totally wrong. I mean, but this is just how I felt when watching it. But to me, a lot of the movie felt like it was made like by focus group. Like it was almost like made to be like, what would be the thing that would like please the most crowd right now? Like it was almost like predatory, if you will. Like I felt like I was being like almost like targeted, or you know, like just, or maybe not me specifically.
I mean, I got that
like,
vibe from Bud 100%.
It definitely felt like they were going for like a very specific audience and not just like oh yeah, this is just a really good movie on its own. It felt like, and it was picking and choosing a lot of different things,
and it was writing a lot
of
trends.
For some people, and for a lot of people, like that made it like a home run. And yeah, I mean, obviously, sounds like I'm really down on it. Like, there's like nothing inherently wrong with the movie. A lot of my problems with it are mainly because I've seen enough of these other things that I guess just didn't quite gel with me.
It felt too derivative.
And now seeing it, and I guess now seeing it done with a property I was excited about, maybe made it feel a little more jarring than it would be if it was like, if I was maybe way more neutral about Predator and Alien for that matter. But,
which, to be fair, I am, which is probably why I took it more at face value. I'm not as deep
actually,
in
that's
the
a
lore.
good point.
Yeah. I mean,
so I would definitely still recommend it. It was still like a really fun time, but yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, it's going to be hard to say whether something's will gel with you. It really depends on how you honestly feel about a lot of those other movies.
I mean, no, but
I don't know if that either, if you were like sitting on the fence, Kevin, or how you even feel about the Predator movies, if that was like, oh, that's kind of what I expected, or oh, maybe I'll still check it out, or maybe you didn't care regardless. But yeah.
To your point though, Angel, like yeah, there are definitely derivative. I mean, there's a trend right now in games, in shows, in movies of like gruff guy and girl. You know, Last of Us does that, for example.
Or gruff guy, yeah.
Yeah, you see it all the time, and like this has that too. This somehow has a Grogu and an Ellie, like in the same with the same gruff guy. Like they're really checking the boxes. And as someone who's not as invested in Predator, like I've seen my fair share, but as someone who's not as like, I haven't seen all of them or that sort of thing. I was fine with it, but you could definitely see like the strings being pulled to hit certain marks, so to speak. But I thought they pulled them very well, and I thought it worked well to be able to show us the Predator's side, like behind the Predator term, that what this race is actually like and what their systems of belief are, like I was saying, and the word I used for it when I posted about it on my socials, I stand by it. It was wholesome in a way. Like obviously it had some gore and it had some like intensity and lots of action and stuff, but there was like a wholesome through line through this whole thing, which is not a word I would ever expect to use with this franchise. But it was, and it worked for the most part for me. I could see through some of why it worked, but it still worked in my mind, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, like what they put there, you know, like they had a goal and they made the movie they wanted, and you know, it achieved what it was out to
I will say the one thing it did not achieve. So last episode, 2 episodes ago, we were all talking about Angel was going on to say about how he hasn't. I don't know how serious he was, but he can't see, like, what's the difference of IMAX versus not? He doesn't care. I think that was on the podcast. We talked about that. Anyway, so we went to the IMAX screening of Predator
Oh yeah,
Badlands.
there was no difference.
There was
whatsoever,
there
except
was
for,
a
like,
difference. It was in a higher quality image, but I was expecting, and obviously the sound
say so?
system's better. But they've been marketing this thing so heavily with IMAX, film for IMAX, see it in IMAX, whatever IMAX, like made for IMAX, whatever the verbiage they're using. Never once did it go into IMAX format. It was the same normal letterbox the entire time, and I was like, that's funny. The sound was good, the image quality was good, but like for a movie that has IMAX's
someone was
logo,
lying here.
for what?
But shouldn't the aspect ratio, I guess, still be significantly bigger than the regular aspect ratio?
I don't
No,
think-
an aspect
what they-
ratio does not change.
my bad. Not the aspect ratio. Just the size. Like, like we're watching a bigger letterbox than the normal
and that's what I'm saying is if you do
letterbox.
real IMAX, quote unquote, they have a taller screen they can use, but this never really leveraged that extra
Wow.
space. It stayed full letterbox the whole time, and I was like,
That doesn't mean
"All right."
that movies don't use that space.
What?
Or don't not use that space.
Oh, you're telling him, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I was saying
Oh
is,
no,
for
sure they
this
do.
to
I
be
just
the
haven't seen one. I
movie,
think
for this to be the movie, I'm like
I think when we
looking
saw
to
Revenge of the
IMAX, and then
Fallen-
it didn't do it. I was just like, great. That totally didn't help my case.
yeah, the only one I could think of off the top of my head that I know I saw was Revenge of the Fallen, and only the scene where where the Fallen is on top of the pyramid and he uses psychic powers to lift everyone up and then drop everyone down, and that was that filled up the whole screen, and then then it went back to normal, and then I was like, the heck was that? It was just weird.
For what it's
But,
worth, 2 trailers we saw before Predator Badlands, one of which was Wicked for Good, the other was Avatar Fire and Ash. Both of those were full screen, like full height.
And,
So-
and all that made me do was notice how there were people in front of the screen. Because, it
Well,
went all the way to the bottom.
I can't help you there. But yeah, it was visually it was good. There were some shots like they did. I mean, you said
When
this,
it's letterbox, none of the screen is obscured. But
You-
now when it's full, some
right?
is.
There's people,
But,
but
I don't know if there's really much. There's not much you can really do about that.
you made a
Honest.
point
You
very
did.
early on in your impressions that the world building was good, and that was something I kind of wish they leveraged the IMAX for more. Is there are some really nice shots of this planet he crashed on. Even when they did the title card, it was over this sweeping vista of these kind of alien mountains with plants, and there was a thing that ate a bird that was flying by that came out of the mountain, and I was like, that would be cool if it was the full screen, but all right, we'll go letterbox, whatever. So there are times I just it could have been more, but yeah, no, I like the movie overall. But yeah, it's definitely, I could see how someone more invested in Predator would be like, what? So, yeah.
Well, you did mention wholesome. So
I did.
it makes sense. Yeah, so it makes sense that we just jump to the next wholesome thing on here. Welcome to Derry.
I thought you wanted to talk
actually
about
really
all the
curious
movies
about
up
that.
front. No?
I did, but then I remember we have Welcome to Derry here, and not only did I, if one of you did mention that was a project that was being worked on, I either forgot or don't remember, but I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a thing.
I don't know.
It seems like you're still confused about it being a thing.
I guess so. Yeah, I just didn't realize it existed.
To be
curious.
clear, it was not a thing. The thing and it are separate properties, but Welcome to Derry is based on
I
it.
knew he was going to do that.
I'm proud of that one.
It
I am
was
so
a
proud of
thing.
that one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really proud. But yeah, it's based on it. Yeah. And Kevin, you're the one that's watched it,
Well,
right?
Based on
Yeah.
what?
The hit horror
Okay,
franchise.
how about
It.
how about I talk about it? Then
No, we can't have that. What?
Wait,
I'm
talk
done
about
with
what?
the podcast. You guys continue on without me.
Good seeing you, Kevin.
Later.
No, but I am actually very curious to hear what you thought of it.
I literally saw it maybe about 30. No, not 30. Maybe about 2 hours. Before we recorded. Just on a whim because I've been seeing people on Twitter really praise it. I had no interest in watching this, but it wasn't until, like I said, seeing some of that praise online. For the uninitiated, like Angel over here, yeah.
Wow.
Welcome to Derry is a prequel to. I guess in theory it's a prequel to two most recent It movies, not necessarily as a franchise. Although I guess canonically it can take place before the books, which I never really listened to. If I remember correctly, it takes place in the 70s. Obviously, it takes place in Derry, hence the title thing. But this first episode, it was about an hour long. Honestly, didn't really do it for me. It is creepy, for sure. That being said, like it's very VFX heavy on front end and the back end, which I typically don't have an issue with 2D or with using sorry, did I say 3D? I meant CG. With
I heard
CG.
2D.
Yeah, so did I.
What happened? What?
And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, so maybe, I mean, the show, so maybe it does have 2D. But I heard
No,
2D.
Yeah, I heard
I'm
2D.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. I meant CG. It's very CG heavy, in the front and the end of the episode. Slight spoilers there. And I don't really have an issue with some things using CG to forgo. Obviously, I want stuff to be practical, but in what they use the CG for, I mean, it's pretty tough to have that thing practical. But they introduce a lot of characters, and I don't really feel compelled to follow any of them. There's this weird side plot with the military that
That's what I've heard
sure-
about. Yeah.
yeah, okay. I mean, I guess I'll save it because the overall premise for the show seems really insane.
like rather bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, that's and you get none of that in this first episode. Like the only thing that you get is a group of characters beating up this guy with the army and asking about like the new B-52 bombers that the military is working on. So it's, I don't know, dude. It makes no sense to me, quite honestly.
Do we want to say what the synopsis is that's out there about them? Okay.
No.
Go look it up for everyone that's like, what could be bonkers about this? And you'll see.
It's particularly bonkers for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Angel will tell you right after because I highly doubt that you watch the series.
Yeah,
that being
definitely
said,
curious.
the intro is good. With as soon as that CG thing pops up, though, it's almost like whatever, I guess. And the ending to the episode is also good, even though like I said, I wasn't a fan of the CG being used. But like I said, none of the characters are particularly like. I don't really care for any of them. So I don't know if I could really just continue watching this week to week, especially with that bonkers, insane. Like, man, this is a route that you guys are gonna take. Like, for an It series is pretty wild.
It screams corporate mandated. We figure out how to do a TV show based on this property. So here's what we got.
Which is weird because you can absolutely do a show without this insane. I'll just say it. I'll
say it. It's in the byline or the log line. It's fine. I think it might not be. I might be wrong.
So full spoiler.
I actually tried looking for it and I couldn't find anything bonkers. It just sounded...
the U.S. government is trying to capture Pennywise or It to use it as a weapon.
Yeah,
and that is the army angle of the show.
Yeah.
You, like I said, you get none of that in this first episode. You get some rumblings of like, oh, the government's up to some shady stuff. But yeah,
just to represent that premise, the U.S. government is like scary clown in a sewer. That's the weapon we need. Let's hunt him down and send him out in the world. But he's like a trained dolphin for us. It's like what? Like. Just what?
It'll be interesting to see how they do it. I don't know if I'll stick around for that ride. I'll check out the second episode to see if that one does it for me. But aside from that, like it's a fine, solid first episode. It's not. I didn't find it particularly, amazing. I'm sure some people out there will. And hey, more party.
Yeah, more power too. And maybe they make that plot work. I mean, the concept of it itself is kind of a little out there too. But this is.
I guess they. But this also runs into that problem that prequels do, right? Where like I know he's not being used by the government,
right? Unless they retcon the
Yeah, so
entire
where's the tension?
franchise, and it turns out the government needed these kids in the normal story for some reason, so they had him go back to the sewer, but as a secret agent to get the kids. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
that's not.
like,
It too proves that wrong. Like we know the premise of it too, and everything, so we know that's wrong. But yeah, if they retcon it, they can make it work.
And the thing is, right? Like it's supposed to show up.
Parallel
28,
universes.
29,
The
30
Stephen
years,
King
or 30.
multiverse.
Right, like
Yep,
he
there you
only
go.
shows up like every 28 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
So,
why
in
the kids are all
theory,
adults in the
this-
sequel. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in theory, like this series ends with him going back into hibernation and leading into the first movie.
Right. But Kevin, did he successfully go fight you said it was in the 70s? Did he successfully go fight in the Vietnam War before he went back into hibernation? That's what you need to watch to
Maybe,
find
you're
out.
right, you're right.
Was he in the
Well-
was he in the killing fields in that war? You have to go find out.
Yeah, well, I guess that's for other viewers to find out. I might check out the here and there. So.
That's partly what kept me at bay from this, because I do like the It movies, but when I heard that premise, I was like, I don't know. I mean, they're between this and like the Harry Potter TV show that's staying way too true to the movies. Like apparently it's just like pretty much straight on. I feel like Warner's really just like, well, let's just adapt whatever we can and see what works. And sometimes they strike gold. Penguin was great. I love Penguin as like a companion piece to Batman. And supposedly they're now doing V for Vendetta with James Gunn behind it. And Peacemaker was great as a companion piece for the DC stuff. So when they get it right, they get it right. But it seems like they're really trying every IP they can think of. And I don't know if they're all going to land,
I was enjoying Peacemaker. I think I only watched the first episode of the second season.
I will say season 2 is a little messier and sort of scattershot than season 1. Season 1 felt tighter as a thing, but season 2 is fine.
Yeah, I mean, given how the first episode ends, and obviously you already saw it, and the fact that it's messing with that, yeah.
Oh, but I mean, season 1 alluded
see
to
how
that
it
stuff,
g-
but it's not even that. That's the problem. It's just
Yeah,
like
but it still kept the story kind of,
local.
it still kept it kind of
Street
simple.
level,
Though.
yeah. Like as a character, I don't want to say like a character study, but as a show about the characters of the 11th Street kids. or
Yeah,
11th
John
Street gang.
Cena's.
Yeah.
Peacemaker.
If you go into the deep monologues of each character, but no, like the character arcs are pretty good for the most part. Like each character's little story is pretty good. It's kind of all.
Yeah,
It's not as
id
clean as season
was-
1 was in terms of just getting from point A to B, and it's. And then when they do get point B, you're like, oh, you're already done with point B. Oh, that's it. Okay, so yeah.
Well, I guess going on from one wholesome story to another, I guess let's jump back to movies and briefly talk about Good Fortune. I don't know if there's a lot to dive in here, but yeah, I mean, that was a movie that came out. Literally, we watched on a whim. At least that was like my logic.
Well, it wasn't quite on a whim
I-
because we booked the tickets days in advance, but I get what you mean. This one
Yeah,
truly
but it was more
has
like-
an angel angle because it's about an angel.
Yeah, like I've just been. I mean, lately movies like Good Fortune and Rental Family fall in that category of like what's something I'm willing that looks interesting enough for me to watch
Yeah.
that will kill time after work so that I could beat, I guess, LA traffic, so that I don't have to like drive home right away.
A sure why not
So-
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sure why nots, and this one felt like a sure why not. Plus, it also gave us an opportunity, even though unfortunate, that the Del Amo Kokuchibanya, which I love Kokuchibanya, for their Japanese curry, their gacha machine, which dispenses miniature curry keychains, was out of service.
So
and therefore cannot
rewind,
complete
real
my
quick,
collection.
rewind for most of the country. So Coco Ichibanya from Japan, Japanese curry. They have locations around LA and I believe like one in Atlanta or something, but that's about it. But along with having the curry, they have like a reward program where if you eat there enough, you get golden spoons. And then they also have these machines only at this one location in Torrance, California, near the Del Amo Mall, where they, as Angel said, have mini curry like plastic foods that you can collect. And the golden
Made
spoons,
using the
Angel
same
has-
technology they use to put like I guess like the display food on Windows. So
yeah.
it's clearly fake, but it also looks better than
And
like mock food. So it's like
and the
somewhere
reason
between.
I'm giving all this context is one, because that made very little sense without the context, no offense. But two, Angel has taken me to multiple trips to Coco Ichibanya, not in part because he likes the food and I like the food, but usually with the ulterior motive of I need to get the plastic thing or I need to get the next golden spoon or whatever. So all of my Coco Ichibanya outings are directly tied to these material objects that are not the food. And unfortunately, when we went to the one in Torrance, we didn't even get the material object that he wanted. I got a golden spoon, courtesy of your coworker who happened to hit the threshold when we were there with him. But Angel did not get his plastic food, unfortunately.
Yeah, that golden spoon's nice.
It's actually really
it's
nice.
kind of,
yeah, and it's engraved.
Yeah,
and
it's
it has
kind
the
of,
year, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, to kind of tangentialize, I'm just going to use that word. To get the golden spoon, you have to spend your 200, I guess, Coco Ichibanya points. And I think it's like $1 per point. But yeah, like I recently went by myself just to get dinner there. And the server told me, like, oh, you have enough for a spoon. And I was like, oh, no, I already have it. Just remembering that the box was the only thing that I noticed looked different because you didn't open it in front of us. You just you just kept the box.
Yeah. Was I supposed to open it in front of you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just assumed it was
Did
the
I do
same
something wrong with
spoon.
my free spoon? Oops.
No. I just assumed it was the same spoon that I had because I got a golden spoon from them earlier this year. I somehow ended up with 5. Don't ask how. But
That's just for those doing math at home. That's $1,000 of Japanese curry that he spent.
Anyway,
Not putting you on blast. It's admirable, really, but
it's a lot easier to pull off than you think. But
they're about $16
what's
to
it
$22
called?
a plate. So just do the math.
But
folks.
point is, the server assured me because I was like denying the spoon that it was actually different, and it was like you said. That one does say 2025 on it. I guess now they're doing yearly spoons, and
Because of people
the
like
shape
you,
of the spoon
yeah.
itself is a little more squared off than than their other one, which is more traditionally round. Just egg shaped, I guess, or just oval. This one, I don't know what it's for. It's just maybe for curry, I guess.
I'm assuming
But
it's just so
just-
you want to collect it, so they made it more visually distinct. The same way Nintendo
Yeah,
will
so
release
it ended up-
different colors of consoles, so the collectors are like, "I get it again." Yeah.
So I did end up getting it, and I mean, I still have enough points stockpiled for, I guess, future spoons should they do more. But what were we talking about?
We were talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
Good,
Good
Fortune,
Fortune.
which we went to go see as a sure why not, because you needed to drag again me with you to a curry dinner, not for the dinner or the company, but for the material item that came with it.
That's right, to up
Yes.
the odds of getting the gotcha.
Yes, he
that
wanted.
I didn't
he needed
have.
my body so he can get more.
Yeah, which
of
we
them.
will have to go back to that theater eventually because
That's okay.
it was out of service.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, Good Fortune was neat. It was definitely wholesome. I think, I don't know.
Should we, let's, it's
Kia-
it's a movie that isn't as well known. So real fast, do you want to do a synopsis?
Yeah,
Do you want me to
Jason.
do a
Yeah,
synopsis?
yeah, Jason. Do your Jason thing.
Okay, hey guys, there's a movie called Good Fortune. Apparently, I use this voice when I talk about it. No, but it stars Keanu Reeves, Aziz Ansari, and Seth Rogen. Aziz, I believe, wrote it and maybe directed it. And basically, the premise is Aziz is down on his luck guy. He doesn't have money to get through life. He's going, can't get a job easily. Ends up briefly working for Seth Rogen, who's kind of this finance tech bro that lives in the Hollywood Hills, has a mansion. And then through a series of events, a guardian angel, played by Keanu Reeves, ends up basically giving Aziz a chance to live Seth Rogen's life. He literally switches their lives. And chaos ensues. But it has like a wholesome message about like, being, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it has like a wholesome message and stuff. But that's basically the premise.
Yeah, it's like I thought it was going to be more of just like a silly comedy, and in a lot of ways it is. But I mean, maybe that's kind of like one of the things that's a little odd about the movie. Like it sometimes has like tonal whiplash.
It's definitely more of a
Like it
dramedy
could
than a
be,
comedy. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not like it goes like full extreme comedy and then full extreme like dramedy. Like it's maybe like a little less extreme than those, but like there were some moments where it's like, oh yeah, you have the fun sound effects, and like, oh, like Keanu Reeves' character's whole initial purpose is to stop people from texting and driving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the other piece is he's an angel who kind of steps over the line of what his responsibilities are to make this switch happen, and he gets dragged into the chaos that ensues as well.
yeah, and maybe how the trailer presented it, I didn't actually expect the movie to feel like, like three different sections. Like I thought there was gonna maybe be a lot more Keanu Reeves than we actually get in the movie, with a mix of like Aziz and Seth Rogen's characters. But it almost ends up being like chapters. Like you have like almost a whole chapter with Tom after he left Parks and Rec, or I guess wherever they're from. And then it's almost like a whole like Keanu section in the middle, and then a whole like Seth Rogen thing at the end, and sprinkles of like another character in there. But yeah, it definitely had a message it wanted to give, and it
And
was
it's
fun. I
entertaining,
think,
and it does it well.
yeah, how much you enjoy it also depends on how much you enjoy Keanu Reeves. Like it definitely felt like part of this movie's inception was literally like, it'd be funny. What if Keanu Reeves was just like a guardian angel and he played it straight, or he just played it like himself. Like Keanu Reeves wasn't necessarily like being any character. He was just kind of being neutral.
He had
I
a
don't even know why I
bit
say
of
neutral.
like the Bill and Ted doofus, not doofus, but kind of like simpleton side, for like a
Like
better way to put it.
like
Like his
like like
delivery was kind of like purposefully kind of matter of fact, and like some of his reactions to stuff were very like,
yeah,
like
because he's also
baby's first outing at whatever type of thing.
yeah. There was a lot of like I guess some naivete to
Yeah,
his
that's better way to put
character,
it. Yeah.
but I will give like Keanu Reeves like his I guess facial acting was definitely very entertaining versus how he delivers his lines, because that's very you're getting what you came to see with Keanu. Either you're gonna be like, oh yeah, like I'm enjoying that, or like that just doesn't, like, people don't talk like that. There's just a lot of pauses. I don't know. It can stand
To
out.
be fair, he's an angel, not a
Um,
person, so maybe that's just his angel angle of speech. That's my phrase of the episode.
that's true.
Angel angle. Take a drink every time I
But
say it.
yeah, but but overall wholesome and a fun watch. I would
Yeah,
definitely
and
recommend it.
also if you are from LA or you like imagery of LA, it does a good job of sneaking in a lot of like nice LA shots. Like not like fancy, like sweeping Blade Runner-y LA shots, but like just a little slice of life, like a lot of sunset shots, a lot of shots of like East Hollywood and like Los Feliz area. Like it just kind of felt very like, as someone that likes LA and likes that kind of vibe, it had kind of like a,
Oh
I don't want to
yeah.
say cozy LA vibe because it's not cozy. You're seeing some like not as nice parts of town, but there's something about it that just felt very like kind of like those late 80s movies that are set in LA and everything has kind of like that orange hue and it's all shot during, there's so many shots during like golden hour. Or like if anyone watched Everybody's in LA with John Mulaney or his subsequent show, Everybody's Live with John Mulaney on Netflix, the entire intro of that show is basically the look and vibe of Good Fortune. So yeah, I appreciated that, like that cinematography and that kind of LA feel that it had. And
Yeah,
also
when
the
those
cast
shots
is,
came up, Jason was definitely making some noises, but yeah.
I was not, but sure. But also the cast is stacked. I know I said Aziz and Seth Rogen and Keanu Reeves, but also like Keke Palmer's in it, Sandra Oh's in it. Like it's like a pretty big cast for a pretty small movie, if that makes sense. So that was, clearly either Aziz has connections or like people were into it or whatever. But it's a fun movie. Nothing to necessarily write home about, but it was enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, and like I said, pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm guessing this next one is all about. I mean, this just has wholesome codedness to it. Pluribus. I honestly don't know what it is. It's just that like arcade machine from
No.
like way back in the day.
No.
What am I thinking
I mean,
of?
I think there is a game called Pluribus from way back in the day, but
No, it's like a. I don't want to say it had like its own like creepypasta associated to it, but there was like some old pre-console era arcade machine. It started with a P. It's like
I think it was.
something.
It might have been Pluribus. I think.
Polybus?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I'm getting distracted.
Well, while you do that, Kevin, you saw Pluribus, right?
What?
You saw Pluribus, right?
Yeah, you saw Pluribus too, didn't you?
I did, but you put it on the list, so I feel weird if I start.
The wholesome
You can no you
product that
this
is
is shared
Polybus.
a shared
A shared
list.
experience. Okay. Well, Angel, let me tell you what Pluribus actually is, because wholesome is not the right word. Some of the people in
Polybus. Polybius.
Polybius. Some of the people in Pluribus that are encountered want a wholesome experience for someone else, but it's definitely not. So this is Vince Gilligan's and of X-Files and Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fame's new show, and it stars Ray Seahorn of Better Call Saul, and it's his return to sci-fi, which is why I led with X-Files, even though obviously Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Oh, this is the Vince
This is
Gilligan
this.
show
This is
and
that.
other.
Yeah.
Ah.
This is that. It's not wholesome. It has kind of like a, I would say creepy, but like definitely a bit of a unnerving undertone to it.
It's a whole sum of creepy, like SUM.
Sure, but basically, I mean, I don't know how much. Kevin, have you seen both episodes?
Yeah, I saw both episodes.
Oh, what'd you think? Because I don't know how much I want to tip my hand here about the premise.
I thought it was okay. Both episodes. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, okay. I am not, in my mind, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, like all the critics seem to be about it. Like that's its rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But I did enjoy it, and I do like what it's setting up. I think it looks great. All of Apple TV stuff looks really nice. Like I don't know what, I guess because they're a tech company, all their stuff just always looks good. But I thought there's some cool shots in it. I thought the premise is interesting. Essentially, I guess we can say what it is. Essentially, you follow Ray Seahorn's character, Carol, who there's a kind of an apocalypse of sorts that happens around her where everyone's just kind of consumed by something. And she's one of the few who isn't. And what you learn through the first episode, without really saying too much, skip ahead if you want to be caught, not get spoiled. But basically, it's like a hive mind is formed. And this hive mind, they need everyone to be wanting to be part of the hive mind and happy for the hive mind to be as, I guess, successful as it can be or whatever. So they're trying to get Carol to kind of see the light. And Carol, understandably, does not want to see the light because she wants to stay an individual. It's kind of like this push and pull of her and them and the dynamic between them. And I'm not entirely... And then you get introduced to the few other characters who aren't in the hive mind and kind of the push and pull between her and them in the hive mind and the dynamics. And frankly, I have no idea where exactly the show is going. But what I do find interesting is it does have kind of the vibe of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or whatever it's called, or one of those sort of body takeover movies. And if I'm not mistaken, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was actually a commentary on societal stuff at the time, involving, I want to say it's the 50s, so involving like the Red Scare and things like that, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of like, are the people within, your world, the people you think do you know them, or are they secretly communist? Like, are they secretly like being controlled by these other people? Like, that's kind of, it was like doing a riff on that, I think. And I'm curious to see if Vince Gilligan is doing a similar riff, but with more modern commentary or more modern societal angles or something. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Like right now, what you do have is basically this outspoken woman who keeps getting essentially told you can't speak out, and you'll see in the show why. And they keep trying to like kind of force her to have a certain perspective. And I'm curious where that's going, if there's a commentary to it. But it's well shot. I find pretty engaging. It's not like people are acting like this is the best show that's ever happened. I wouldn't go that far yet, but I'm intrigued enough to keep watching, I think, is where I'm at personally. Kevin, do you think you're going to keep watching?
I will probably wait until the entire season's over to watch it, just because I kind of don't want to do this thing where if I do get invested in it, I want to keep waiting week to week. So
Yeah.
I'll probably just wait until the entire thing.
I mean, that's actually how Rachel is. She prefers to watch everything when it's all out and just binge through it and get like the whole story at once. I like the water cooler thing. Like, I like the idea of like there's a show, it's out, you go read what people think, you share what you think, you maybe not. I don't necessarily go into like fan theory super heavily, but just like kind of lightly, like what are people's like a vibe check, if you will. Like I like that kind of slow drip.
Sure.
But I feel like I'm becoming among people I know in the minority about that. So I am fortunately, at least with Pluribus. I don't know if Rachel's as invested in me. I don't even know if I'm that invested.
Well,
but I'm getting her to go along weekly versus waiting. But
I actually do agree with you, or I feel the same way. I do not like to watch. I typically don't like to binge shows. If possible, I would prefer to be able to watch them on a weekly basis when they're drip fed.
Yeah.
That is just a preference. I've always enjoyed shows more that way. It gives me, you're basically forced to like, reflect on them and think about them versus, just binging them, which, it's like not that like I won't binge a show, but yeah, not really a fan when the whole sum of episodes is out at once.
Well, I don't have an issue with that, like especially when it comes to like watching anime, right? I will
That's true.
I obviously enjoy watching that week to week. It's just a show has to have a certain I don't know what you want to call it, a certain je ne sais quoi, and the first 2 episodes of the show just didn't have that for me.
Yeah,
that's why with this one I'm like what you said, Jason. You wanna know what everybody's thinking about this show. I kind of don't even really think about this show at all. So why do I
right
particularly care what other people are thinking about? That's why for this one I'm skipping the week to week.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Because like I like the week to week, but I definitely am not typically interested to hear what others are thinking. Like I won't really go into the comment section. It's just more just me. But it's also a schedule thing. It's much easier for me to work in one episode a week than I guess it's constantly pushed back watching a show because I was like, when am I going to have time to watch a show? Like, I want to watch Stranger Things Season 4 before Stranger Things Season 5 comes out. Sure, I don't have to watch them all back to back, but I don't know. Just kind of just a weird mental blocker. That's definitely just like a psychological thing, if anything. But, it's also an hour-long plus per episode show thing versus 20 minutes for an anime or something. So that does make it a little harder. And I guess in that case, yeah, sometimes it is kind of maybe nice to know what a general, I don't know. I don't like to always go on the general consensus, but it is kind of good to know, like, all right, is this kind of worth investing all that time into? At the end of the day, you do have to make that decision for yourself, but it does kind of help at least like prioritize it. Like, yeah, I could wait on it for whenever I get to it, or I should maybe watch it sooner rather than later.
And definitely like there is risk of sort of being burned if like, especially for a show that's like so like mysterious, like Pluribus is, in terms of like not even knowing where it's going. Like there's a risk of like it won't pay off, and I don't even dive that deep into what people think. I usually spend maybe like 20-30 minutes after I watch an episode just being like, well, what are people's thoughts on some shows, and some actually a lot of shows, like even like Only Murders, even though that Only Murders in Building isn't like that. First of all, it's not as good as it used to be, but even in the newer season, it wasn't like that. Like I could kind of see where it was coming, what was coming somewhat, and I still would just go like, what do people think of this season? I'm curious, and just go look. So there's some weird like knee-jerk thing of me just being like, let me spend 20 minutes seeing what people think after each episode. But yeah, it's, I don't know, something about it. I think for something like this, especially it's like more of a mystery show, or like this is kind of like it kind of feels like a very drawn out Black Mirror episode, or an X-Files episode, if you will, or Twilight Zone. I think if I binged it all, some of the air mystery wouldn't be there because it would be getting resolved so fast, like, and that's maybe a good thing or a bad thing, depending, but it's
much more than others. From
yeah. So that's partly why I'm like, even though I'm not like totally in at the same, like I enjoyed it. I thought it was like greatly done. It didn't hook me in the way that some people are like, best intro of a show ever, and I was like, well, okay, if you say so. But yeah, it's got enough in there to keep me intrigued at least. So
yeah, like, while I will say I was actually kind of nicely pacing out Only Murders in the Building.
Mm-hmm.
I was only watching maybe like one episode every couple days instead of like every week. But that did help, like, the mystery aspect of it air out. But I do remember there was maybe one or two instances where I did watch some episodes back to back. And getting that resolution almost immediately sometimes like deflated some of the
Right.
excitement or suspense
Right.
that it says, because like it ends in a cliffhanger. It's literally like, oh my god. And then sometimes like the way it starts, it's like, it was like a fake out, and then it's like, oh, like you barely have time to like kind of get into the like, oh my god, what is it? And then it's like, oh, it was
And it's like, just kidding.
nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes it worse if you have a whole week waiting for it and then it ends up being
Well,
nothing.
yes
But
and no, but then
I
you
don't
have a
know.
week to kind of like it kills the suspense of the cliffhanger, but maybe if the cliffhanger is a fake out, you will feel
But
like your
yeah.
emotions were spared that you learned so quickly it was a fake out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say with Only Murders, the later season, the most recent season, I swear some of the twists and turns they do are like out of convenience. Like there's some stuff and I was like, why is that happening? Oh, I guess that now resolves this. So like the weekly drip for Only Murders
That's
this
called
season,
contrivance.
yeah, it kind of hurt. The weekly drip kind of hurt it because they'd be like, you're waiting, there's stuff lined up. Like they did a great thing this season. Not gonna go into too many spoilers, but they did a great thing this season where they're kind of saying the
Definitely don't.
billionaires in New York are like the new mafia in a way. And I was like, oh, what an interesting idea to explore. And they like immediately were like, yeah, we're not gonna explore that really. Never mind. I was like, okay, why even suggest? Like they made it sound like that was gonna be the theme of the season, and then they're still relevant, those characters, but like not in the way that like it seemed like they were setting up. And I was like, all right, I guess. So, yeah.
Mhm.
But
That's Pluribus.
yes, that's
Definitely,
Pluribus. Oh, one other thing about Pluribus that just kind of a comment about really how like especially me can like learn about shows and get marketed to. So Comic-Con every year, right? You go down there, you go and do these offsite activations or brand experience, whatever you want to call them. You they obviously theme those and tie those in very well. And usually when you're doing them, it's either after you've seen something or when you're already familiar with something. So the context of what's going on, even if it's not one-to-one with what you saw on the show, you're like, oh, I see what they're theming here. So like the Peacemaker thing they did down there this past summer, they turned a nightclub into like a rock club. They had like the various helmets, which it turns out, in season 2, when you watch it, you see all the various helmets. They had his bike, which is in season 2. So all that's like, okay, yeah, obviously the bike's going to show up. Great. Pluribus, it was really interesting to see how they recontextualized how watching it recontextualized the pop-up they did, because it actually was at Comic-Con where they announced Pluribus, like the name Pluribus. Previously it was an Untitled show. So the first day at Comic-Con they had a food truck giving out donuts, and also it was Happiness is Contagious, and it had a countdown clock on the top of the truck. The second day they swapped out the truck, or the whatever overlay on the truck, to say the name of the show, and the countdown wasn't there, but instead there was a chalkboard that was like "Call Me Carol" and had a phone number. Everything that I just said, the countdown, the donuts, the call me, the phone number, all of it made a lot more sense when you saw the show, but in a very different way. Like the donuts had happy faces on them. What the donuts mean in the show is very different. And I just was like, that's kind of like every single little thing they did with the truck, the countdown, the chalk, all of it was completely flipped in how it was what it actually meant in the show. And I feel like it's rare when those activations do it quite like that, where you have no idea and you can make some assumptions and they're making it seem like it's, it's obviously a little mysterious and a little like off-putting because happiness is contagious. Like that's weird. Why are they saying that and having this woman screaming on the promo art? Like, okay, something's a little suspect, but like the way they flipped it, like it was kind of cool to watch. You like, oh, that's why that was at the activation, and that's why that is the activation, and have it be like completely blank slate going in. So I thought that was kind of fun.
What about you, Kevin? Any final words on Pluribus?
I don't see how this show costs $15 million an episode to produce.
It's that much per episode? Gee. Well, I do know for the second episode, they mostly CG'd the airplane. They had one little physical piece, and then the rest was completely CG. So maybe that's where the money went, was the CG.
Maybe. Yeah, that's why I read that every episode
That's crazy.
An average $15 million. Doesn't seem like it at all.
It does not. It does feel very small in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albuquerque cannot be that expensive.
It is very cool of Vince Gilligan, credit where it's due, to specifically film in Albuquerque again, not to tie it in with Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. He says they're not all related. I think the exact quote was, "Don't hold your breath expecting a crossover. Your face will turn blue." But he went back there
But you won't
specifically to
die.
work with the. That's true. But he went back there specifically. It'll turn blue like the meth in Breaking Bad because it is related. No, he specifically went back there because he wanted to reemploy that same crew, which I thought was a nice. Like, they're the only reason it's set in Albuquerque so they can work with the same crew and
Hey,
get
you
unemployed.
haven't finished that show. You're not allowed to reference it.
Okay. I'll stop now.
What haven't you finished?
I never finished Breaking Bad. I know.
Oh,
Angel and I were watching it together. Then we stopped watching it together.
wild.
And then I
We
just
got
never
pretty
finished
far.
it. Yeah. We got far. 1.5 seasons away from the end.
Yeah, last season isn't even that many episodes. I mean, assuming you remember anything, we could just finish it.
I don't know if I could watch a synopsis, though. To
Yeah.
catch me up.
Well, that was Pluribus, which, if I'm being honest, I 100% thought you guys were going to talk about Bugonia. I thought that's what it was, despite the fact that I know that's a movie and this was in the shows category. But I still thought that was Bugonia because I just forgot the name of that movie, which is Bugonia, which is definitely not this. And also doesn't look
Begonia
very
4
wholesome.
times in like a minute. That was impressive.
But speaking of awesome, I think I'll just go through this one pretty quickly. So I recently donated platelets. I don't know if either of you have ever donated platelets
Nope.
before. No?
I can't.
Okay.
I don't do well with getting blood drawn or doing platelets or anything like that. So.
I don't do good with giving.
I
yep.
don't do good with. I don't do good with altruistic acts. So,
I do good with getting and taking.
yeah, no, my body does not allow me to
What are
comfortably do that.
platelets?
Platelets are the things in your bloodstream that will block or that will clog or they form scabs so that you stop bleeding.
It's the
they're what
clotting in the
protect
blood
you from
clot,
bleeding.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They create the clots too.
How do you specifically donate that?
So this is how it works. Essentially, long story short, to do work, Red Cross came to visit, and I donated blood like in mid-September, and then they're like, "Hey, we like your blood. Would you like to donate platelets? Because we're always in need of them, and because they go bad pretty quickly, like they kind of need to use them." So
It's a shelf
I'm
life
like,
of a
sure.
couple days, right?
Yeah, like 4 days.
Yeah, that's fast.
So they told me like yeah, so it's like this 3-hour long process where they stick a needle on one arm to remove your blood, and then it goes into this big machine that spins around and separates the platelets from the blood.
I believe
which
it's a
will also have.
centrifuge, right? Technically, that's the machine.
Yeah, it's a centrifuge. Yeah, centrifuge with some other doodads that it separates everything, and then it basically pumps it back into your other arm, everything but the platelets. So you get your blood back with like a minor like dosage, with a minor like a small dosage
Blood
of
back guarantee.
some kind of like saline solution or something to essentially kind of make up like what you lost, I guess, in energy, because I guess you're not obviously getting 100% of the blood back. But for the most part, yeah, it did actually take 3 whole hours. I was on a chair, and I remember like it started around like 5:20, and it ended. I heard like the beeps that it was done like around like 8:30, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, because you are basically getting your blood back, you don't finish the process feeling very lightheaded. Like I felt normal. And for all intents and purposes, like you also feel pretty, like, I don't know, like needles don't bother me. Like when the initial pricks, like they were fine. Like I wouldn't say there were anything to write home about. And the whole, like the blood exiting and re-entering you also doesn't really feel like anything. The part that was noticeable is the fact that with your, whatever hand is getting the blood back, you have to keep squeezing like a little stress ball like every 6 seconds.
For 3 straight hours, you have to keep squeezing every 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that's to
That
make sure
that's
that the blood pumps into you versus just like coagulates at the entry point. Right?
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So that like my hand and wrist and just like just that arm is still like incredibly sore. It was like a whole workout. But yeah, and so that's the part that you kind of it sucks for like the first 30 minutes, but even that kind of becomes autopilot after a while. So you're probably wondering like, so what do you do for like 3 hours? I could have just sat there. But they did kindly offer. I mean, they have like this TV in front of like decent sized TV. Maybe it's like a 30-incher, but it's like literally right in front of your face, so it doesn't really need to be any bigger.
It's like an IMAX screen.
And
at that point.
yeah, exactly, basically.
No wonder you don't care about
So yeah,
IMAX.
so like they gave me some headphones, and they're like, all right, just don't log out of anything, but you have access to Hulu, Netflix, and Disney Plus. So I took the opportunity to check out Win or Lose, like Pixar's original series from a couple years back, maybe 1 year back, 2 years back,
Is
a
that
couple
the,
years back, recent.
Is that the one? Was it Will Forte as a voice and it's baseball? Is that?
I would have to know who Will Forte is first for me
Last
to
Man
answer
on
that
Earth.
question.
SNL.
I would need to have watched that show.
MacGruber.
MacGruber. No.
I know who that is.
You've never seen MacGruber? Hold on.
No. I now no.
gotta fix
I
that.
now know who you're talking about. I now know who you're talking because I'm pretty sure I watched the MacGruber movie with one of you.
It wasn't
not,
me.
maybe it just was
I
Elvis.
laughed.
It wasn't me.
Might be Elvis. But Will Forte is MacGruber. And I just looked it up. He is
Okay.
Coach Dan in Win or Lose. Yeah.
All right, we gotta watch MacGruber
Okay.
too.
All right, so that does help me realize who. I was gonna say Matt Stone. Shoot, Trey Parker. Who were we just talking about?
Will Forte.
Who's MacGruber? Will Forte. Wow, what does he have? I
Why'd you
just
go to
completely
South
forgot
Park
that
out of
name.
nowhere?
I don't know. They're just the first names that popped up when I tried to remember Will Forte. Yeah, I guess I don't watch Will Forte in enough things to remember his voice or him sounding anything but a voice. But yeah, I guess he's in it, and I'm sure maybe other Will Forte likes. But yeah, it's a fun show. I maybe not the best comparison, but it is a comparison. It does the thing like Arrested Development's first Netflix season where the entire all 8 episodes take place over the same day. You're just seeing a different perspective of a different character on every episode. Just kind of like, like, oh, now you're seeing it from this character over here. Oh, what were they doing this whole time? That's another episode. And it was pretty entertaining. I had enough time to probably watch all 8 episodes, but I only got to watch 7 of them because I think maybe 30 minutes into the platelet draining process, when they were like first like setting up the needles and all that stuff and the puncturing and stuff, like they had told me that like those streaming services are available, but I didn't take that as, oh, go ahead and turn on the TV and put whatever you want on. I just took that as like, oh, here's what Jeff presented. I'll eventually give you the go ahead on, I guess, when we're ready, because I figured, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I figured. But eventually the person was like, you're not going to watch anything? And I'm like, oh, I could have watched something this whole time. So I probably wasted like 30 minutes like that. But yeah, I don't know. The show is fun. If you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. It's pretty, I don't know. It definitely leans towards older audience. Like, it's still a Pixar short. I mean, it's still a Pixar show, so it's definitely for all ages. But I feel like it's just a pretty broad range. I mean, the fact that one episode literally just revolves around a teacher going through, I guess, like you could say like a bad breakup over a marriage proposal rejection and spending most of the episode navigating the world of dating apps and creating their own profile and going through that was kind of surprising to see from a Pixar short or a Pixar show or Disney show for that matter. But, it was done in a very Pixar-y way as well. It kind of did it through the lens of like, well, this app is actually kind of like a video game, and because, the character likes video games and whatnot. But yeah, donate platelets. They gave me a tote bag. Check out Win or Lose. I think it was pretty wholesome. Actually, every show ends in a pretty big cliffhanger. So it was wholesome until you're like, oh no, how does it end? And there's only one episode left, and with 7 pretty big cliffhangers, I have no idea how they're gonna wrap this all up in 20 minutes, at least in a satisfying way. Like, it feels like there are just way too many threads for them to not mess us up on the final episode. So I guess we'll see. Actually, I'm curious how it pulls that off, because I don't know, some characters are going to get shafted, or they're just going to get like oh yeah, they're just resolved, or it just didn't. But yeah, that was Win or Lose. I see something else on the docket. Jason, did you still want to talk about the wholesome franchise that is Kirby?
I sure do. So, for those who
And
are like
Nintendo
random or
financials? Very
Nintendo,
wholesome
I'll
financials?
work them in. You'll see. But yeah, I feel like
And Nintendo in general, I guess.
we're at the Nintendo part of random or Nintendo. Yeah. So yeah, no, I did want to
Take
talk
it
about
away.
Kirby Air
It's all
Riders.
yours.
What was that?
No, I said take it away. It's all
Oh,
yours.
sure. Yeah. So I did want to talk about Kirby
Feel
Air
free to go
Riders.
to housekeeping.
Yeah, I'll go straight into
I thought it
housekeeping.
was
Sure. I need people to get a word in order to get the words out. But yeah. So I did spend some time this past weekend playing one of the Kirby Air Riders global test rides, as Nintendo's calling it. That Angel you refuse to play because you know you're buying the game.
Yeah, the only way to confirm that you're buying it, apparently. Damn, I missed that.
No,
one.
I just wanted to experience it because I've never played Kirby Air Ride. Like, what was it? Last episode we were saying I've never
Wait, you
played the original.
haven't?
I've never played the original, so I wanted to play it.
And-
anyway,
and
I
every
already
time
had
I'm
pre-order, but I
surprised,
wanted
I
to know
feel
what I was
like-
buying. So
I feel like everyone's played Kirby's Air Ride.
No,
I mean, I
absolutely
never owned
not.
it. I only
absolutely
played it
not.
at a demo kiosk, and that was like my experience
Not
with Kirby's Air
everyone-
Ride.
Not everyone could because I'm someone and I didn't, so it's impossible that everyone did. but
But just like, I
know-
don't play games at a demo kiosk. I just buy them.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think on my demo kiosk at the time. It doesn't matter. I've never played it. Is my point. So having the Air Riders Global Test Ride was a nice opportunity because it gave me a chance to experience it. It allowed access to a couple tracks to race on against CPUs, but also the full city trial experience online. And which, by the way, compared to the GameCube one that apparently the whole world but me has played, the city trial player count is much higher. It's 16 now. So just know that going in, because if I were to give a one sentence summary of my experience, it would be, who would have guessed a game that uses so few buttons can be so complicated? Because like, I thought I had a good grasp of what was going on before I went into it, from Sakurai's directs and whatnot, but kind of not really in practice. Like, the best way I can describe the Kirby Air Riders experience is how I said on my socials the other day, which is like, it's like if you're playing Smash Bros for the first time, but that first time is an 8-player match with item frequency turned all the way up. Meaning it's chaotic, it's colorful, it's clearly packed with like loving attention to detail and fan service, and even if you know the premise of what you're supposed to be doing, it can be pretty overwhelming. Like, some of that can be attributed to just how much is going on in a given city trial. You have, like I was saying, there's you and 15 other players. You have 5 minutes to run around a map, grabbing different stat-changing items, while simultaneously hopping onto different vehicles with their own stats, while simultaneously dealing with a random assortment of activities that spring up around the map. And these range from, like, isolated little battles to status-altering effects like your nonstop quick spinning or your suddenly super floaty. And then there's environmental effects like giant, spiky Gordos might be falling from the sky. And then another part of the chaos can be attributed to the controls, which, while simple on paper, do take a little getting used to if you've never played before. Like, you never actually accelerate, as everyone knows. You only steer. But then with that same steering stick, you also flick it back and forth quickly to do a spin attack, which really should be mapped to a button, in my opinion. Hopefully there's an accessibility setting in the final game for that. But on top of all that, you also sort of slingshot yourself around because the brake button doubles as a boost button when held down, which ultimately does feel really satisfying to pull off, especially in races. But then as you're doing all of that, you also have this whole technical, deeper level of the game where the machines you hop onto really change how it feels to play, or the attributes and stats you acquire across like dozens of various combos of items really make or break what you're doing. And then after 5 minutes of all this stuff happening in parallel, you're dropped into a mini game that's roughly Mario Party in length, but it's one you're voting for because you think it will ideally match up with the attributes you've accumulated over those previous 5 minutes in the city trial map in all that chaos. So again, like with Smash Bros, if you learn all the ins and outs, all the technical aspects, if you learn the stats of the vehicles and the items, how to cater your build to best mesh your vehicle with your attributes you're gathering while kind of slingshotting around, and then you line all that up with the right mini game, there is something surely very satisfying here. But boy, did the global test run just drop you in the deep end and send you off into the madness. And I'll admit, like, in the days since the test run ended, they're doing it again this coming weekend, but in the days since I played it on Sunday, I have kind of felt a bit of an itch to jump back in and like better understand things. Even in the time I played it during the test, things started to very slowly click, at least until like the next totally random element was introduced. But like, for people who thought maybe Switch 2 had too many racing games, this is nothing like a Mario Kart World. This is nothing like a Sonic Racing Crossroads. Even the way the races are handled, which are easier to digest, they have like their own system of Emmy inhaling and specials that can be chaotic in their own way. But from those races to like City Trial especially, this feels less like a racing game and more like a constantly in motion 3D fighter almost. And from what I've seen online, the sheer like sensory overload that they drop you into is definitely leaving people split. For some, it's like clicking right away, or they absolutely love the absurdity of it all. I know like Rick the Hamster and his like stampeding run has become kind of like a meme among some Nintendo people. For others, it's seemingly just like too much to learn. I think I've personally kind of landed somewhere in the middle where I was definitely overwhelmed by what was happening, but intrigued by it. Like the last time Sakurai introduced me to a gameplay concept that's this, like, I don't want to say deceptively complex, but kind of deceptively complex, I feel like it was the original Smash Bros, right? Like, I mean, ignoring what he did with the Kid Icarus uprising control scheme that just did not gel with my left-handedness, you know, it was probably Smash Bros.
Meteos, I was like, well, these impressions almost line up exactly with how you felt about that game.
What? Meteos? I love Meteos.
Yeah,
makes sense right off the bat. It eased you in. And it's possible this will too. But like, you know, if you think about something like Smash, it's something, at least I grew up alongside and learned the ins and outs as I went. So by the time something like 8-player Smash was introduced with its dozens of items and stage effects and whatnot, it didn't feel too chaotic. It just felt kind of like an extension of what I knew. But with Air Riders, I'm coming into it almost from the opposite side, where, and it sounds like a lot of people are as well, because contrary to what you thought, Angel, the impression I got looking around online is not everybody has played the original. So everything, like, now though, because it's coming from the opposite side, like everything's already here, and it's just kind of like a matter of parsing it out and understanding it. So something I'm very curious about when I pick up the full game is exactly how it's going to maybe onboard newcomers like myself. Like, I'm really interested in the road trip story mode, in part because it's a nice sampler of everything, but also because it'll be rotating me through all those different types of gameplay elements, and I would presume slowly build on top of each until something like City Trial doesn't feel so chaotic. So, like, when I do eventually share my impressions of the full game, when we talk about it after it comes out, I think that's probably the lens I'm going to be looking at through. Is like, how did it get me to the point where it all made sense, you know? But it was fun. It was just very chaotic. And I'm also really curious about how, like, Air Riders supports newcomers and is embraced by them because of how Nintendo is positioning the game. Like, it's not just me being like, oh, well, for me it was weird. Like, Nintendo's positioning this game as a very big holiday game. Like, to go back to Smash Bros, they built up that audience, right? From the original to Melee to Brawl to Wii U and 3DS to Ultimate. And along the way, that's when they added, like, each thing that came together to make Ultimate what it is. It was, like, in tandem with the expanding footprint of a player base. So this made it so something like Ultimate could be a huge flagship holiday release with all these layers of bells and whistles. Yeah, if you didn't necessarily like get it, you probably had friends that could explain it to you and kind of like ease you in. So with Air Riders, it kind of feels like we're just starting at that latter point where Ultimate ended up. But since, you know, it's still a big flagship holiday release, like I don't know. There's seemingly such a technicality to the game and how to like get good at the game that I'm very curious to see how it's going to fare through the holidays and beyond. Like, if I was Nintendo and I was setting up a big holiday season for my new console, I would hope that many, if not all, the games I'm introducing would become evergreens, right? Like how Switch One's lineup had Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart and Splatoon and Mario Odyssey all in one year. Like Kirby Air Riders and the way Nintendo's been marketing it seems like it's attempting to fill one of those slots in the release calendar. But then simultaneously, it's also deceiving in how it's not seemingly as immediately accessible as many of those other evergreens might be. Like, yeah, there's all sorts of physics systems in Zelda or weaponry and specs in Splatoon, but Air Riders, at least in the test run of the city trial, just throws everything at you at once. So much more like aggressively, for lack of a better word, than those other games were rolled out to you as a player. Even with tutorials considered, there are tutorials in Air Riders. They did not necessarily help with the chaos of city trial. So I do wonder, like, can Air Riders, based off how many people's first impressions were this super intense city trial, which is crazy and chaotic and fun but intense, like, I do wonder, can Air Riders have good sales legs if the entire game ends up just being like how the test run was? Like, if you're not on the ground floor at launch and you're not there learning it with the community, are you basically a lost cause if you decide to join the online scene at a later time? Like, is the skill ceiling going to sort of hold you back if you pick it up 6 months from now, and that will kill any potential like evergreen potential for the game? Like, these are questions, frankly, going into the demo, I didn't think I'd have, and on the surface are surprising to have about what looks like a happy-go-lucky Kirby racing game. So it just kind of, to me, creates this very interesting like juxtaposition of like what the gameplay is like in its peak form, which is I think what the city trial test run was showing us, versus an audience who maybe needs to be eased into it. And as much as this will sound like I'm maybe buying Air Riders as some sort of like anthropological study or something, I am very curious to see how the game attempts to bridge that gap. Like, that's one of the main drivers of why I buy. Like, I want to see how they pull this out. Like, how do they get me from the current point to being good at what I demoed? So that's going to be kind of interesting. But if you don't mind me dipping into like the business side of this same coin, I'm also very curious to see just how the game does in general, both in like the face of these complexities and perhaps in spite of these complexities. Like, as I mentioned, Nintendo's angling Kirby Air Riders to be a very big holiday game. Like, it's out 2 to 3 weeks, I think, before Metroid Prime 4. Is it 3? It might be 3 weeks before Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And Kirby's gotten 2 hours of Nintendo Directs, a multi-weekend demo event with the global test run, its own daily updates on both Twitter with the dedicated account and in the Nintendo Today app. And meanwhile, Metroid's got... Well, 2 weeks ago, I got that snazzy retrospective book that covers Metroid Prime 1 through 3, and that's mostly just looks very pretty. But besides that, all Metroid Prime 4 has gotten lately is a 1-minute trailer last week that's mostly footage we've already seen before, just edited together a little better. And, to be fair, that trailer had a couple new, very, very nice, gorgeous shots that, honestly, if you told me they took those out of the retrospective book from like the concept art and just like plopped them into the game, I believe it. They look really good. And also, to be fair, we could still get an overview trailer of Metroid Prime 4 to sum up like how the bike segments work or the interconnected world or psychic abilities, whatever. But my point is, that's a lot of we could. Kirby's getting a big actual push this holiday. It's in Nintendo's favorite holiday release slot, 3rd week of November. So, there's that is going to draw people in. Kirby Air Riders is also the rare Nintendo release that's marketed as being from like a gaming auteur, for lack of a better term or better way to put it. Like, Monster Hero Sakurai is all over this thing in the marketing, the vision, the menu design, you name it. Like, it's like how they have Hideo Kojima be like attached to something like Death Stranding or OD or any of his projects. Like, Nintendo is really pushing, this is a Sakurai game. This is a game from the Smash Bros. Guy to help garner, extra attention, extra sales and whatnot. Plus, of course, you're giving it just an amazing chance at success because it's a hot new holiday title during the first holiday of a hot new console. Like, the still fastest selling new console ever, in fact. Nintendo put out their financials last week. Yeah, Nintendo put out their financials last week, and they revealed that Switch 2 has now already sold over 10 million units in 4 months. It's doing so well, hardware-wise.
It's only been 4 months?
It's only been 4 months, yeah. Or, well, 4 months as of the report. So the report was from the 6 month, the 10 million total was from launch till end of September. So it's actually higher than that now. But yeah, it's doing so well. Nintendo increased the sales forecast for their full fiscal year by 26%, from 15 million to now they're expecting 19 million Switch 2 sold. So that's a huge audience between all these things to introduce Kirby Air Riders to. I mean, the original Kirby Air Ride, contrary to your thought, Angel, that everyone on the planet has played it, it came out in the early days of the GameCube. That's a system that sold a cumulative 21 million units. And here, within less than 6 months, Switch 2 is giving Kirby Air Riders a potential audience of nearly half of the GameCube's entire life of sales. So, obviously, not everyone's going to buy it. That's a given. A game like Mario Kart World pretty much everyone paid. It moved like 9.6 million copies because it was bundled with the console for so many folks. But then a game like Donkey Kong Bonanza, which was only available as a separate purchase, as you guys know, that sold about 3.5 million, which is still very impressive. That's a third of like all Switch 2 owners. But it also maybe gives a sense of like what the sales ceiling could realistically be for Kirby Air Riders, 3.5 million, if it even reaches that high. Because again, I'm just very curious to see if the game is as approachable as Nintendo would want a holiday release to be. Because that demo and what I was reading online of people thinking of that demo and how I experienced that demo, it seems like a lot of people are like, it's not for me. So then to further add to the complexity here, even if, let's say, Kirby Air Riders does sell less, it may or may not be the fault of the game itself or the gameplay itself. One undercurrent I noticed across both current, and not just me, but that was noticed across both quarters of Nintendo's financials since the launch of the Switch 2 is that software is not moving in the same way it did for Switch 1. So in the time that Switch 2 sold 10 million systems, it sold about 20 million games, which is a respectable like 2-1 attach ratio, theoretically. But also, of those 20 million games, 9.6 million of those were Mario Kart World. So that leaves about 10-ish million games for the remaining entire lineup of Switch 2 releases. And if you compare that to the Switch 1 in around the same time frame, the Switch 1 had an attach rate of, I believe it was 3-1, like 3 games for every console. So sales are a little slower on Switch 2. Some of this may be caused by what games are on tap. Where will Kirby fall on that? I don't know. Another factor could very well be backwards compatibility. Like if you bought a Switch 1 in 2017, all you had were the games available for Switch 1 in 2017. But now, even if you buy a Switch 2, the entirety of the Switch 1 library is available to you, right? So whether you're part of, and this is something Nintendo shared in their financials, there are 84% of Switch 2 owners were people who upgraded from Switch 1. So whether you're part of the 84% of those Switch 2 owners who had a Switch 1, or you're part of the 16% of Switch 2 owners who are entering the ecosystem just now, there's a huge library. I checked the eShop today. There's a library of 26,000 games available on your Switch 2. That is a lot of options to play, even weeding out the junk from within that. And then on top of that, adding to that, Nintendo keeps making Switch 1 games more enticing, even if you're on Switch 2. Like in the past 2 weeks, since you and me all last talked, we got news of a free update to the 2.5-year-old Pikmin 4 that adds new decor Pikmin to find, just like in Pikmin Bloom. Plus the ability to transfer another Pikmin Bloom for the dozens of us who play that religiously like I do. And that just launched tonight, actually, as of this recording. And then also they announced a big 3.0 update for Animal Crossing in January that adds a revamped Dream World for customizing multiple islands and a resort hotel with room customization challenges, plus the return to playable retro Nintendo games in-game. And for $5, come January, a Switch 2 edition that adds game chat, camera support, and 4K visuals. Never mind, on top of all this, the Black Friday deals Nintendo just announced this week. Big discounts on Switch 1 games, many of which have Switch 2 enhancements. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 3, even games that don't have enhancements that you maybe missed on Switch 1, like Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which I forgot even existed. Like all these games are going to be heavily discounted around the holidays. And you may think those aren't big movers or shakers in the Switch 2 story, but I was listening to an interview with Reze on the Game Business show earlier today, and while he obviously isn't on the inside track of Nintendo like he once was, he was discussing how he underestimated the appeal of these like enhanced versions, like being a Switch 2 player playing Switch 1 games. Like he was saying that he was, in his words, scratching his head when he initially saw the lineup for Switch 2 in 2025, because it's not what Switch 1 had in 2017 with almost all AAAs. You know, it's a mix of stuff like Mario Kart and Bonanza, but also Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors. But then also there are these carryovers from Switch 1. And it's those that he didn't account for initially in his assessment of the lineup. So, and is now realizing have some power. So you can't really count them out either, is what I'm saying. So really, all this is to say, Kirby Air Riders is to me in a very interesting spot where it's getting the big spotlight boost of being a major game in the first holiday of a majorly successful new console. Yet it's got more competition in the library than probably any, most games in the first year of a new system would, first holiday. And it's got complexity to it that I'm very curious to see how the game itself addresses and if the audience or intended audience responds to that well. So I'm excited to try out the fuller experience for sure. But I am very curious. Like coming out of the demo, I was just like, this is not a slam dunk for Nintendo. What is this going to do? Like there's so many factors working against it potentially. So I'm very curious where Kirby Air Riders is going to land. And where my skill in that game is going to land as well, but more so where the game itself is going to land. So that was weirdly enough my big impression from the demo, more so than just playing it. Was like, what is this game's future? It's such a kind of enigma. So that's Kirby Air Riders, but it has great fan service, great music.
Looks like you came out of those Nintendo financials more excited and eager as ever.
I will say, I did a pretty decent job, I like to think, of not just being like, here's some numbers for you guys, but it actually is relevant to like it helped that the financials and the game demo were within like a few days of each other, because my mind just like melded them when I was like, I can't separate them even in my head. They're just intertwined.
This was only the game stuff. You didn't even get into Nintendo's business overall. Like, I mean,
what do you want to know?
Did they just open like a new store? Don't they have like the movie stuff coming out soon?
Yeah, so, well, by the time most people hear this episode, the Mario Galaxy movie trailer will be out. I'm very excited for that. Chef Toad is in it. And it's funny because we were just at the Universal store recently and bought Chef Toad merch. You were with me. And then they're like, boom, Chef Toad's not just a Nintendo World character. He's in the movie.
Jason got me and my brother a Yoshi corpse.
If you guys want to see the Yoshi corpse, stay tuned to my socials. One day when I have nothing better to post, I'll post a picture of how you had to take it home. It's something. That's all I'll say. But yeah, Nintendo. Well, what's interesting about Nintendo, and this actually nice unintentional full circle moment here, Angel. At the top, when I was saying how I was doing like Nintendo adjacent activities, when you're asking how I'm doing, and I've been enjoying those, I basically have been doing what Nintendo wants me to do. Like, there was, the Lego Game Boy, which is licensed IP. There was going to the Nintendo World Store, which is the theme park. There's being excited about the Mario Galaxy movie trailer, which are the movies. There's the fact that, today they announced the new Lego Zelda, or teased a new Lego Zelda set. A week or two ago, they announced they're dipping their toe into vinyl record, like physical soundtracks with Breath of the Wild. There's a $200 box set that's 5 vinyls. Like there's this all-encompassing Nintendo lifestyle that they're really pushing, which is really what Satoru Iwata first began envisioning back in 2015 or 14 when he was talking about like expanding Nintendo's IPs into being the centerpiece of all sorts of entertainment that can lead back to the games, or the games would be a piece of that pie, or however you want to view it. Basically, this idea that Nintendo's like diversifying into a Disney of sorts. And in the financial briefing, since you asked how they're doing in general, so they had the results, and then they had the next day 6-month briefing. And in the briefing, there was a slide deck. And in the slide deck, there's a whole portion dedicated to walking through how their goal as a company is now, more so than ever, building and establishing these long-term relationships, like the way I've been consuming Nintendo, Legos and music and movies and stores and games and demos and like this idea of like establishing these long-term relationships with existing fans and new fans through games and merch and visual entertainment like movies, where they confirmed they have more in the works, and theme parks like Super Nintendo World, which they're now going to be opening in Singapore. Or I think that's already announced though. But like the point is they went so far as they tweaked their mission statement as a company to now describe themselves as an entertainment company, not necessarily a video game company. And it's funny that all this was happening literally in parallel, much like how the Kirby thing and the financials were kind of intertwined in my head. Like, what's this game going to do for Nintendo? Everything I've been consuming from Nintendo, the Metroid book, like all of it these past 2 weeks, was basically that slide where they showed we're an entertainment company now, and here's all the different ways we are. Like I could point to every single bucket on that slide and be like, I did that in the last 2 weeks. I did that in the last 2 weeks, and that, and that, and that. So that is definitely kind of where Nintendo's going right now and why they're doing more movies. And it helps that Switch 2 is doing really well. They had, I think it was the strongest second quarter for a new console they've ever had in terms of like everything. Revenue it brought in, units sold, all of it. So they're flying high right now. They obviously have a huge amount of momentum with the Mario movie today, whenever people listen to this. They have it with the Zelda movie now filming in New Zealand, or about to start this week, I think. Like there's a lot going on. So it's kind of cool. Like I feel like it's a good time to be a Nintendo fan because you can really be fully immersed in every part of your life should you choose to, in a way that you couldn't a decade ago. So for better or worse.
Seems like Jason's running high right now.
Oh yeah, dude. Once you get me going about financials, I don't stop.
which is why I believe it's time to,
Make me
I
stop.
guess, formally come to the end of episode. What was it? 754.
I believe that's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah. So unless there's anything else, I mean, I guess we'll throw it back to you again.
Oh, hey guys.
Wait, actually, or actually, let me try saying it and just fill in the blanks if I forget something.
Okay, I could do that.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Is this the first blank?
No. So you can listen to us on many platforms, including Google Listen,
That's literally not a thing.
Stitcher.
That was a thing, but no longer exists as of like 3 years ago. So you're kind of catching
Shoot.
back
Wait, you
up
haven't
to
been saying
reality.
You haven't said Stitcher for 3 years?
I don't think so. Maybe 2.
Tuner? Is that a thing?
Tune in. It's a smaller
In?
app.
Is that
It's a smaller app, but it exists. I don't know how often
But
I
is that
name
one
drop
we
that one,
use?
but I appreciate you saying it, or they appreciate you saying it.
iHeartRadio.
That's real.
Google Podcast.
Well, it's you.
Apple-
It's basically. Yeah. Say that second one
Apple
again.
Podcast.
Uh-huh.
iTunes. Wait, that's
Well, that is
different from
Apple
iTunes?
Podcasts. Yeah.
And YouTube. And I think it's
Oh,
all
you
of
forgot
those.
the biggest one these days.
Spotify.
Yeah. Also, Amazon Music for the 5 people who use that.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of streaming services we're both on and not on.
And real quick for the YouTube, our handle there for people to find us is
Random Nintendo.
yeah, with an @ sign in front.
Wait, it is?
If you want to get fancy, yeah. And what's our where are we on the platform that I still call Twitter?
Yeah, and then for social medias, there's Twitter/X at Random Nintendo. There's Instagram.
No, that's it. We're just on Twitter. We should really go somewhere else too, but we're just on Twitter because most people, frankly, just get us through the subscriptions or YouTube. But
we have a
individually,
Threads?
we're on the rest
Oh,
of you.
so we don't.
Individually, we are. If you want to try and get
Yeah,
those.
individually, you could follow us at I'm on Instagram at World of Wayros. It's WEIROOFW. Shoot, I already butchered all of that. World of Wayros. World of WEIROS. Kevin is at KV and Gomi on X/Twitter
and
Threads.
but
Yeah, in theory. I guess,
yeah, I guess he is.
And-
but also, what color is the sky?
Oh, and Blue Sky. Sky Blue.
I feel like I'm helping like feed answers to like when you're like helping someone with their math, like a parent's helping a kid with a math homework, and they're like, "Oh, you're almost there." Like it's not 2 + 2 isn't 3, but it's really close to 3. It's kind of what I feel like I'm doing.
And Jason is, I want to say on everything. He's definitely on Instagram and X/Twitter as JSR7, or is it
Yes.
JSR070?
It's 7. I'm also on Threads as well. I would say
That's
Threads and
Jason's
Twitter.
7?
JSR7, yeah.
And I guess that is it. I've definitely heard enough of Jason, so I would
I
like
spoke
to
a
give
lot,
Kevin. So yeah, Kevin, if you can have the final word.
yeah.